Welcome to Middle Ground, the space between who you were and who you're becoming. I'm Brynne, life coach, mom, Latter-day Saint, and just a fellow work in progress. Consider this your space for all of it. The real conversations about faith, relationships, health, finances, identity, sexuality, and every beautiful, messy piece of being human. Because I believe the more honestly we see each other, the better we love ourselves and the people around us. If you felt that, you're in the right place. Let's get to it. Hey there. As you are listening to this podcast, if someone comes to mind that you wouldn't mind sharing with, that would be amazing. The algorithm is a real thing, and I would love for as many people that this podcast can serve to find it. If you feel like following or leaving a comment, all of that will help people find the Middle Ground podcast, and I would appreciate it so much. Now, enjoy this episode. All right, Ryan and Stevie Peterson. I'm so excited to be chatting with you guys tonight. How are you feeling about being here on Middle Ground?
We are excited. Never been on a podcast before.
I was just excited when you texted me because actually at work, I work with Hannah. You know Hannah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was talking about, she listens to your podcast and we were talking about it at work. And I said, guess who texted me to be on her podcast? And I was super excited.
Awesome. Yes. Love Hannah. She's so sweet. Thrilled to have you guys. Stevie's a good friend of mine. And she and I were chatting once she had met this nice man, Ryan, and they were engaged, and she had mentioned that they were having pre-marriage counseling. And I had never heard of that before in my life and was super intrigued. And when I actually first started this podcast, I thought of you guys and I was like, oh, I should probably give them a little bit of time to actually experience being married. And then we'll chat about this pre-marriage counseling and see how it helped or didn't help. We're going to talk about all the things today. So first off, how is married life going?
It has been the best. It's so crazy. We've almost been married we'll be married for a year in April. So it's flying by, but it also has felt like eternity. I feel like I haven't lived without Ryan. It's the craziest thing, but it's been the best.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's very different from living alone and lots of changes, but it's all good.
That's awesome. Remind me, how old are you guys again?
I'm 23.
And I'm 22.
Okay, awesome. Just to give us a little bit of reference. Okay, so has the counseling come in handy?
It has for sure. I guess a little background on how it started.
Yeah, please.
I was, for many years actually, I was always intrigued with therapy or counseling or whatever you want to call it, and had heard of different people going to counseling and heard different experiences, some good, some bad. But I wanted to give it a try. And so after me and Stevie had started dating for a couple months, I decided I was going to go and try and find a counselor to help me with my personal things.
Okay.
Because, I mean, we all got things we're going through, and I got
Absolutely.
my share. And so I started going, and it was great. I loved it, actually. I think I might have gotten lucky with the therapist I found, but he has become a good friend and someone who I believe really cares about me and my well-being, and I fully feel comfortable sharing my challenges and some of the things that I don't feel comfortable sharing with other people. So it's been good. But I went alone for probably
A few months.
5 or 6 months, I would guess, before Stevie was like, maybe I want to go and see what it's like too. And
Yeah.
I can't remember if we started going together or you just started going on your own.
I think I went on my own. I had gone to therapy when I got home from my mission. They give you free therapy sessions when you come home early. And so I went to, I think, about 3 or 4 sessions, and it was really good. And I've been raised in a family where we talk about mental health a lot, and my family's like, going to therapy is great. So I had gone a few times. And then, I think when Ryan started going, I went alone first. And then I think we went together after that for a while.
Yeah.
Whose idea was it to go together?
Did we? Maybe we did go together the first time. I'm having a hard time remembering.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was maybe Stevie's. I mean, when we got closer to our marriage, different things would pop up, and I don't know, you could say we had commitment issues and we were scared of committing to each. I mean, marriage was a big step for both of us, and so different challenges came up that we wouldn't argue about, but we would get fearful and kind of. I'm very
Avoidant.
and is we've learned about attachment styles in therapy, but I have an avoidant attachment style. Stevie has an anxious attachment style. And so when I get hurt or scared, I kind of just run away and dive into myself. And Stevie's like, let's talk about this. We need to figure this out. Don't go away. And that makes me want to push away harder. Anyway, so we were going through some of that stuff. And so I think it probably was we started going together first before she started going on her own.
Yeah. And actually, a funny story on one of I think it was our second date, pretty much. We just talked. We would talk and talk, and we were sitting in the car, and we were with another friend, and I asked them, I was like, do you guys think you'd ever go to like couples therapy? And our one friend, he was like, no way. I hope me and my wife never get to that point where we have to go to couples therapy. And Ryan sat there and he was like, honestly, yeah, I think I would. And I was like, green flag. I'm like, there we go. Just because I think people get scared to work through things like when they hit that rough patch, a lot of like fight or flight kind of thing. And some people are just like, oh, I'm hitting the road because I'm too scared to be vulnerable or go through these things. And anyways, I think it was, me and Ryan have always been, like I said, our first 2 days, we just talked and talked and talked, and we're very vulnerable from the beginning, I feel like, and we just clicked. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love it how it was more like preventative care, right? Like, no, we're doing this to help set us up for success. And not that we will prevent hard conversations from occurring, but when they do come, because they will inevitably come, we will understand each other a little bit better. We will have some tools in our toolkit of how to communicate and questions we can ask to navigate this. So I love that so much. That's such a great idea. Were either of you skeptical or resistant at all, or were you both like totally on board from the get-go?
I was 100% in. I had my parents are divorced, and because of that, I don't think it was anything they did, but I think that I felt like they had enough issues by themselves, and so I didn't want to be any other issue, and so I wouldn't share anything with them. So I think I became avoidant because I felt very isolated from a young age, and I was just very self-reliable, and I said, I don't need anyone else. I can do things on my own. I've been doing it my whole life. But as different things happened throughout high school and after high school, I could kind of tell that I had some unhealthy ideas or habits that I would do around relationships and working with people. And so I was well aware of that. And so I had no shame going to a therapist and saying, hey, what's this about? Why do I do this? And to me, it was fine.
Ryan, how did you become aware? That's pretty big to be like, yeah, I'm very aware of my things that I do. How did you become, let's use that word, aware of those things that you wanted to eventually address in therapy?
Some of it was actually on my mission, different people I was working with and talking to.
Where did you serve?
I was in Arizona for 16 months and then went down to Uruguay. So because of COVID, I had a little bit of a mission. But mostly in Arizona, I connected with some people and they became really good friends. But I wouldn't get vulnerable with them. I didn't feel safe opening up to people at all. And they would open up to me and they would kind of ask, and I was very protective. And so I think they actually kind of brought that up and said, you're not very comfortable opening up. Like you need connection to heal and different things. And I
Huh.
said, yeah, I've heard that, but da 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 da. So that's kind of where it started. And then as time went on, different things popped up, and I just would think about it and ponder that a little bit.
Hmm. Very good. What about you, Stevie? On board, resistant, skeptical?
I was definitely on board. I mean, I don't know, I think the idea of couples therapy is like you're in a rough place, you're going to therapy
Yeah.
to work through it. And I think because of the way I was raised and my parents, again, like I said, were so, and that's the thing, I don't think therapy is about like always about mental health struggles or anything like that. Like anyone can and should go to therapy, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think I was very skeptical at all, and I was kind of interested to see how couples therapy would go because, like I said, I've been on my own, but then going together, I was like, this might be a little interesting. But I was definitely on board because, like Ryan said, I think it was kind of my idea to go. And I remember when Ryan first started going, he'd come home from therapy or come pick me up and we'd go on a date,
Mhm.
and he would kind of talk to me about what they talked about. And like he said earlier, we learned about attachment styles and everything Ryan was sharing with me. I was like, this is so intriguing. I'm like, I wonder how I am or why I act this way in my relationship or why I show up this way. And so I was definitely on board and intrigued with going. But
So why, when you guys came up against these hard spots in your dating, why didn't you just be like, "Oh, screw it. Like, we don't need to be together. This obviously isn't working." Why was it important enough to you to work through that together rather than just give up?
because Ryan's the best.
I love
It's
that.
true, but that's a great question.
Funny enough, one of the other things that made me realize that I have certain connection styles and different things is a past relationship I was in, and it ended. And part of the reason is because I believe is because I didn't open up and we couldn't connect, and so it was a very surface level relationship, and it lasted a while, but because of my things, I just wouldn't let it get to where it needed to be. And so going into this relationship with Stevie, I was aware of that, and I said, I don't want to just keep throwing relationships away because of my attachment styles. And I don't think that if I was better, or if I knew what I knew now, like that relationship would have worked. I think that it was easy to give up on because it wasn't going to work, and I could tell. But I could realize. I also realized that it was because I didn't open up to her and we couldn't connect deeper. So when it came to me and Stevie, I feel like she was worth fighting for. It felt like, and I was like, I really need
Mhm.
to get this figured out because I don't want. I want to live a healthy lifestyle, and I don't want to just become avoidant and hide with myself for the rest of my life.
I love that. Way to go, you guys.
Wise man.
So, so what was the experience like for you? First of all, before we dive into that, how did you find your therapist? And that is pretty awesome that you really connected with someone in the first go because that doesn't happen a lot of the time. So, how did you find them? And then, what was the experience like? Like, kind of walk us through that.
So, I when I first was like, all right, I'm doing this, I got online and just started looking at different things. There's some online therapy where you just hop on a Zoom call with the therapist.
Mhm.
Um, I had an insurance company, and they actually had a list of like therapists that you could go to for family therapy or all sorts of different kind of stuff. Um, but I was on a camping trip actually with one of my friends, and he said, well, no. One of my neighbors works at um, a, a kid's home, just where troubled kids go after drugs or whatnot, and their parents send them there. So he worked there, and I knew he had been involved in some sort of therapy. So I actually reached out to him and got a couple recommendations from him, so that I knew they were local.
Mhm.
I kind of told him what I was looking for in a therapist and whatnot. And then on that camping trip with my friend, I told him I was going to go to the therapist. I told him his name, and he had actually gone to that same therapist. And so he was able to share a little bit more about that therapist, which was helpful. I think it
Nice.
helped open my mind a little bit and got a little more comfortable. But I feel, yeah, it was a great experience. I mean, the first session I had with him, it was very just exploratory, understanding who I am. He shared about him. Um, he is LDS, which I think is helpful for me because I wanted someone who could believe in the same things I believe in.
Mhm.
But he wasn't. I've heard of also LDS therapists, and they have to say, you need to read your scriptures and you need to pray and it'll fix you.
Mm,
I didn't want any of that
mm,
forced upon me. I know that prayers and scriptures can help in life and different things, but I didn't
mhm.
want it to be. I've heard, and I don't know if it's true, but I've heard like therapists provided through the church have different requirements like that.
I
Anyways,
can
I
see
don't know
that. Okay.
if it's true. He has shared some things with me, and he actually has a very similar, I think, attachment style and different struggles similar to mine. And so he was able to relate with me and share his own personal experiences and make me feel like I'm not crazy, because you
Yeah.
get in your head and you're like, I'm crazy. Why am I thinking this? Why is this happening? And it was helpful to hear his experiences. And then I shared mine, and he responded in a very healthy way. There was no shame. It was completely open, and it just felt safe. And he helped me understand and point me in the direction. He never said, you are this and your brain does this. He said, what I'm thinking is maybe you do this because of this. And I don't know if that fits with you. Let me know how you feel and if that fits. And so he never like put anything on me, and he was very open about it. And so he
Mm,
just guided me and brought up different ideas of how my brain was reacting to different things or stuff like that. And so I didn't feel like he was telling me that I had this, or it just felt open, if that makes sense.
yes. To me, it does.
I When he was saying that, actually, I was thinking the first therapist I did go to, I remember it being like, he was like, "You sound like you have depression. Like, let's diagnose this." And it was like fine and all, but I know a lot of therapy approaches is like, "Oh, you have anxiety.
Yeah.
You have," which is great if you can address that. But I do appreciate how the therapist we go to, he is very much like we said, those attachment styles, like, it's crazy to realize the way I show up in me and my mom's relationship is, like, mirrored image of how I show up in me and Ryan's relationship. Like, we'll
Mm,
talk about things from my childhood, and I'm like, "Oh, I still do that with Ryan, actually, because
mm.
that's how I learned it growing up, and that's how I showed up and felt safe and comfortable in settings and so forth." And so it's just really, like, it's just diving into so personal, like, it's not like, "Okay, you have depression, so, like, this is what's going on, and you need to do this to
Yeah.
fix." It doesn't feel like he's trying to fix you, it's just exploring your thought processes and all that stuff.
Cool. Yeah. Because there's definitely a setting where having a diagnosis, right, could be helpful.
Mhm.
For
But
sure.
there's also settings where it's like, okay, let's figure out how you work. Like you
Mhm.
as an individual person, how do you think about this? What do you feel about this? How could we maybe reframe this to be more helpful, right?
Yep.
So I
Mhm.
love that. That's a good point to bring up. Like there are different styles of therapists and different purposes that they serve. And
Mhm.
if you try a couple and it's not a good fit, there are lots of them out there,
Yep. And that's the thing,
right?
I know a lot of people go to therapy and they have a bad experience with one therapist, and that's I think you have to find who works for you and who.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just think there's, like, what you wanna get out of it, and that's another thing when we showed up to therapy, the first thing he says is he's like, "You're only gonna get out of this what you're putting into it. If you show up here and you're like,
Oh.
I was fine this week. Like, I don't know. And that's the hard part about therapy. You dive into some stuff that's like pretty not well, uncomfortable, brings
Yeah.
up a lot of emotions and stuff. And so, um, or things you just never shared before or shared your feelings with. And so it is a vulnerable place. And I think sometimes it can be a little awkward when this is a person you've never met and you're just sharing things. But the right therapist, like Ryan said, he just makes the space is so safe. You feel safe and comfortable to share and work through what you're going through that week.
I know. And don't we wish that every couple felt that they could be that open and honest and vulnerable with their person?
Mhm.
Mm.
It breaks my heart to think that there are so many people out there that they go talk to everyone else but their spouse or their
Yeah.
partner, right?
Mhm.
And it's weird, but that's where the real connection and is in vulnerability and being able
Yes.
to show the emotion and the weaknesses and your hurt and your anger and your pain, like all of it, like the good and the bad, the ugly and the beautiful. Like we're
Mhm.
all just these beautiful compilations of it all. And the more comfortable we can get with both sides of ourselves, our light and our dark, the more beautiful our relationships can become.
Yeah. And I think the question you asked earlier about like what made us run, Ryan
Mhm.
is the most amazing person, but it is like, I don't know, I think I used to believe in soulmates slightly, but then the older I got,
Okay.
I'm like, no, I think you could make a relationship work with anyone. But obviously there's gonna be red flags and things you're okay with and things you're not okay with. But like realizing that every single person comes with baggage is like the biggest thing. Cause you get into a relationship and I think some people haven't gone through their own stuff, so they can't show up enough for each other, and I think sometimes, I don't know, like, you hit that spot in a relationship where it's like, "Oh, shoot, this is getting vulnerable, this is getting
Mhm.
deep," and it's like, "I don't know how to feel that way, so I'm gonna run." But I think realizing like, Ryan is the most green flag man, like, all when we were dating, I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, this is amazing. How did I meet him?" But there are things that show up, and it's like, "Okay, am I willing to put up with this? Am I, like, here enough that I can put up with this?" Because that's another thing. Sometimes things from your past show up and it's like too triggering for you that you can't even like show up in that relationship. And so I don't know. It's crazy how easy yet complicated relationships are.
Ryan, what have you learned about sharing emotions as a masculine man?
Mm. Good
Kind of a hard
questions.
thing for guys to do. I think it comes more naturally to women, right? We tend to be more naturally emotional. So, what have you learned either about yourself or the power of emotions in general through this process?
I have to say this really quick.
Do it.
But Ryan does cry. It's okay for men to cry. But I think Ryan was slightly raised where crying was frowned upon, maybe.
A lot of
But
people
he
are.
says yeah, he says sometimes that he's like, "I can't cry on the man, like, what if I was in war right now? I can't cry on the battlefield." And I'm like, "Ryan, you're here with me, you can cry, it's okay." It just is funny to that thought has never
It's
crossed my
cute.
mind. It's just funny
Right.
how
That is a good point. Yeah. That has never crossed my mind in my life.
I mean, yeah, I do have some of those thoughts and feelings, and I don't know if it was like frowned upon to cry necessarily, but I always felt like I do need to be tough. I need to crying doesn't fix anything and yada yada yada. So over time with therapy, different we would be talking about different things and I would start to cry and it was very painful and one because what I was going through was painful and two because I don't feel
Mm.
comfortable crying. So it was like a double whammy. But what I've learned and what I'm not good at is our emotions and our body are very connected and
Yes.
our body needs certain things. And my emotions, I don't let my body portray what my emotions are. And so it's hard to understand what my emotions need because my body won't show it. Our therapist talks about as different things show up, your body will point to different things, and you'll feel it in different places. And to me, that's super foreign, and I'm still like, I have no idea what he's talking about because my body, I don't feel any emotions. And I do believe what he says, though. Like, I feel like some people would hear that and be like, yeah, you're not feeling it because it's not real, and that's crazy. But I do believe that our body points towards things, and we get anxious and our stomach hurts because our anxiety, our emotions it affects our body. And so I think our body needs to release different things, and moving your body and doing different things with your body can help you work through emotions. And to me, crying is one of those, and I don't like it, but when I need to cry, I'm more comfortable than I used to be.
That's awesome. You just said a lot of really wise things. And I learned a long time ago, and this is just something I learned on my own, but I've come to realize that God gave us everything that we need to take care of ourselves. Like, obviously, we have doctors and nurses and therapists and stuff. That's awesome for support. But truly, like, if we know how to utilize the tools God already gave us, I don't know that we would need all those external sources, but we don't. Like, it truly is that emotional, spiritual body connection. They're not isolated. Like, they're truly meant to work together. And I realized, like, God gave us tears is the most healthy way to process emotion possible. Like, you don't have to go on a rampage. You don't have to hit anyone. You don't have to even yell at anyone. You can literally just sit and cry. I was like, isn't that amazing and beautiful? And yet we're so resistant to it because we've made all these rules about crying. And I just think it's so, isn't it funny? Like, really, when you think about it, it's like, okay, I'm supposed to do this, obviously, because that's what my body wants me to do. But I'm so resistant to it because it makes me not manly, and it's ugly, and it makes people feel uncomfortable and all these things. And yeah, I am here to break all those rules. Like, crying is the best thing that God gave us to help process emotion and to feel better. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, as Ryan was saying that, our therapist talked about how in Western culture, it's like we're just, what did he say? Heads walking around on a toothpick. Like, I don't know, like, we're so up here. And I'm definitely that way. And so a lot of the times in therapy, he'll ask us, like, what are you feeling in your body? And like Ryan said, it is kind of foreign to me because I'm like, I don't know, because I've been up here. I've just been thinking and thinking and thinking. And it's interesting. And like he doesn't really talk about meditation, kind of, but just like Eastern culture, like I think of the monks and stuff, like meditation and just like Zen, like being connected to yourself. And I think it's really interesting because even foot zoning, like when I remember Ryan one time came home from therapy and was talking about certain things, and I was like, this sounds like foot zoning. And I know people think foot zoning is kind of voodoo, but I don't know. It's so interesting that your body is truly, your emotions are so connected. Like, things show up in your body because you're feeling a certain way. It's just very interesting. But I'm definitely a crier. I cry. And it's funny how I'll feel a certain way and then I'll cry and I'm like, oh, I feel better now because I just released all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. To go on to what Stevie said, one tool that our therapist has taught us is SIFT, and it's an acronym for sensations, images, thoughts, and feelings. And so you call it homeostasis when your body is normal and you feel okay and things are just level. And then if things happen, you start to rise and get aroused, your emotions get aroused, and it can be a lot of different things. During that arousal period, as things are climbing, if you sit there and sift and think about the sensations your body is feeling, the images that are going through your mind, the thoughts and the feelings you are feeling, it can help you understand where those are coming from, why you are feeling those that way. Because, like I said earlier, sometimes you feel crazy and you're just stuck in your head and it goes around and around. But if you sit there and spend time with yourself kind of meditation like, and try and understand where that's coming from, it always points to something. We do everything for a reason. And he teaches us many tools like that, but really sitting with yourself and spending time listening to your thoughts and feelings and emotions can help us understand why we do some of the things we do.
And even when, I don't know, when people start to get angry, how many times do you tell yourself, okay, deep breaths here. Like, it's so interesting. Or even when you kind of get into an anxious mindset, you're kind of having a little bit of a panic attack, maybe, like the squared breathing in for 4 seconds, holding it for 4 seconds. Like, even breathing can calm you down so immensely. And so it's really interesting. And I had another thought, but it just left my mind.
That's okay. If it comes back, stop me. But that's I like the acronym. That's really, really wise. And everything that you guys are saying, for me, all leads back to the word curiosity and just getting curious. Because like you said, there's a reason that we do everything, but we're all just on autopilot, right? We're just doing the things that our brain is telling us to do rather than pausing and be like, okay, wait, why am I doing this again? Like, what? Oh, I have this belief that this is how I'm supposed to do this thing. Oh, do I actually want to keep doing this thing? Or could I do it differently or just not do it at all? Okay. Yep. Now, it's taking ownership of your life and being like, oh, I don't actually just have to be this robot that just goes through this life. I really can have a say in who I want to be, what I want to think, and what I want to feel, and how I handle things. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And I think understanding too, that word's come up a lot, but I feel like when we take time to understand each other more, that's where the connection comes. Because if we're both like, Ryan's not doing this and he's not doing this, but when I understand why he's showing up in that way, it makes me like, oh, okay, because of this and this. Anyways, it's just taking the time to understand it. Understanding takes vulnerability because you have to, get into all of that, which can be hard for some people. But that is, I feel like, just where the most of our connections come from is taking the time to understand each other.
Yeah. I love that. And I agree 100%. In fact, it's easier to make assumptions and just stick with our assumptions because then we don't have to talk about it, right? Then we can just be like, oh, they just do this all the time and it's so annoying and they're just trying to hurt my feelings and get after me or whatever. So my sweet husband, Alan, he leaves his lunchbox out all the time. We've been married 14 years. And finally, I just looked at him and was like, Dallin, why is it so hard? Like, I said it maybe not as nicely as I could have. I was like, but why is it so hard? Or why do you have such a hard time, I don't know, putting your lunchbox away? And he was like, I just put it down and I move on to the next thing. And I was like, there you go. I'm just grateful to better understand that after 14 years. Thank you. Instead of, and because, you start ruminating like, oh, why can't I just do this one thing? And then you make this huge story up about one thing, and then you're mad at someone over something that you probably didn't really need to spend all that energy on. So yes, asking why and especially when you're open to actually having a conversation about it, right? Like, don't come in hot. That usually doesn't end well. But if you can come in with true curiosity, just open to whatever the answer is, you'll usually, I'm pretty surprised by the answers I'll get. And I'll be like, well, that actually makes sense. It's a lot better than the story I was making in my head about all the reasons you didn't do X, Y, and Z or whatever.
It reminds me of something someone told me once, and it was a lady I used to work with, and her and her husband, she told me, never fight. They never argue. And to me, that's crazy because my parents, they fought a ton and got divorced eventually, and they're doing great now. It was just crazy to hear that a couple never fights. I thought it was inevitable. And one thing she shared is that, similar to what you just said, we have these different things and we start to build resentment against our partners and different things. And she said, the one thing that helps is, and it happens to me still, but I have expectations that I don't communicate. And
Yes.
he's doing nothing wrong. And I'm building this whole long story in my head of why in the world would he do this? He must know how bad it's hurting me and all this different stuff. And
Yes.
so just you'll never have it won't be perfect, but you'll get rid of a lot of tension and resentment if you just always communicate every expectation you have. And if you don't want to communicate that expectation, you just need to be okay with saying he's not aware of this expectation, and that's okay. And that's why he's doing this.
Yeah. And one thing too, with me as a girl, sometimes I'm like, I remember seeing this Instagram post and it was like, a girl's love language is not having to ask. And I was like, that is so true. But then I'm like, Ryan cannot read my mind. Like, you come back to reality and it's like, okay, wait. He has no idea that I'm expecting this, this, and this from him. And exactly, we first started dating, there was a quote that uncommunicated expectations are something resentment, like I can't
Lead to resentment or something.
remember pretty much. And it's true because it's exactly that. Like, if I get home from work and I'm like, oh, I hope when Ryan gets home, he comes in and gives me a hug. And that's an expectation I have. If I don't communicate them with him and he doesn't do it, obviously I'm going to be like, oh, how dare he? But his job is not to read my mind. And as we were talking earlier, I was thinking about how you said at the beginning of this podcast, how some couples, they talk to everyone else but their couple. And I think building a healthy relationship, it takes two. Like, if I was coming to Ryan and he was just closed off, not wanting to communicate at all, and that's the hard part, is two, to connect and be vulnerable. And I am so appreciative of Ryan because I feel like we've both done a ton of growing in our relationship. And there's times where the goal I have is connection, but it takes me like this windy path to get there because I maybe I'm a little upset, and so I just want to turn away from him. But from therapy and like being able to sift through my thoughts and things, I'm like, okay, no, my goal is to connection. So then, though I might have done something that I feel a little embarrassed about or whatnot, I can still come to him and I'm like, okay, let's have a vulnerable conversation here because all I'm wanting from you is connection. And if I run away from you, that's not going to lead to healthy connection. And he just shows up so kind and a safe place for me. And so it truly does take two, because if I came to him and he was freaking out on me or anything, like, then that again just builds more resentment and whatnot. But
Yeah. Our therapist has taught us a lot about different relationship styles and or attachment styles. And he talked about a psychologist who studies psychology, but he talks about this study that happened, and everyone gets a attachment style at the time before the 12 months of age. So at 1 year old, everyone has some sort of attachment style. I mean, there's different examples of what the babies did in the study with each attachment style, but I think every relationship we can have different attachment styles: healthy, unhealthy, avoidant, anxious, ambivalent, I think is the other one. There's 4 that I've learned about, at least. Um, and when someone comes to us and they become open, and we can do 2 things to them. We can be a safe place for them and take them in and be totally fine, or we can shame them or do other things that is not safe. And if we do that over and over again, they'll learn that this is not a safe place. I'm not going to go open up to this person. For me, the hardest thing has been, a lot of times Stevie does want to open up and communicate and figure things out. And I am avoidant. And so she'll come to me and I have thoughts of, leave me alone. I don't want to talk right now. I don't feel safe. I have my own fears that I'm dealing with. Like, leave me alone. It doesn't help to shame her and say, don't come to me right now. And it's hard. But and I know the consequences, that if I did do that, it would teach her to not open up to me. And I don't want that at all. I want to have a relationship with Stevie and have a healthy attachment style with Stevie. I have other attachment styles with other people, and they're not always healthy, and I don't love them. And so I want at least a good one with Stevie. But in that moment, it helps to understand that I need to be a safe space, and sometimes I don't. And I can't be a safe space, and I just try to communicate that in a healthy way and say, Stevie, I don't feel okay talking right now. Let's talk about it. Instead of saying, get out of my face, I don't want to talk about it right now. If you are not ready to talk about something, that's totally fine. If you want to do it in a healthy way, you need to communicate it without shaming them.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's my train of thought, I'm telling you, it's like out of here.
It's okay. It's late. You're doing awesome.
Yeah.
You guys are so great. I love this. You've shared so many beautiful things. Is there anything that you found unhelpful in this process at all?
For me, no.
10 out of 10, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I did say to Ryan one day, this was probably about a month ago, I came home to him and I was like, Ryan, do you think if you wouldn't have gone to therapy that our relationship would be where it is today? And he was like, honestly, no. Like, honestly, I don't think so. Because like I said, we all have baggage we bring to a relationship. And I think when we first started dating, they say when you're in a healthy relationship, that's when like most of the crap shows up. Like you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have to like worry so much about you. I'm worrying about myself. And now I'm noticing all these things coming up in myself. And I think that really happened with us where we were like, oh shoot, like why am I feeling this way? And so I think in the beginning there were a lot of times we probably would have been like, this is uncomfortable. I'm gonna go. But I think, I don't know, we just worked through them. And yeah, I don't think there's anything that was unhelpful about it at all.
We're far from perfect still.
Yeah.
We still get pissed off and
No, there's no such thing. I think it's funny how we throw that word around. Like, what would a perfect relationship ever even look like? And is it even realistically attainable?
Right.
Like what we think that would be, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it exists. I think
No.
that's a funny word. In fact, I like studying words and like where they come, what they translate from the Hebrew and the Greek, because a lot of the scriptures have been translated multiple times from both languages. And I learned that the word perfect actually means whole or complete. So to me, perfect doesn't mean without flaw. It means all of it together makes one perfect whole. And that has completely changed everything for me because not a single person exists that could ever be perfect. So how could anything be perfect, like a relationship or whatnot? But a relationship could be whole because both of you bring everything that you bring to the relationship.
That's
so
awesome.
yeah,
right.
it is awesome. Like it takes everything. Like I said, you're light, you're dark, you're good, you're bad, your baggage, your awesome experiences. It takes all of it for you to become what amazing unit you can be together.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's so awesome. Okay, so we'd recommend therapy. We're loving therapy. It's really worked for us.
When
Is there
you
any? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, when you texted us, I said to Ryan, I was like, I think this would be awesome because it's true. I feel like a lot of people that we've told that we go to therapy, they are kind of like, oh. And sometimes I wonder because of the way therapy is, if they're like, oh, are they going through a hard time right now? Or like, what's going on? But it really, I mean, yeah, every relationship ebbs and flows. But I just think it's been overall very helpful and insightful. And we actually stopped going to couples therapy and we've just been going to individual therapy because we've found a lot of our things are very personal. It's not that we're having like conflict between us or anything. It's mainly just working through our own personal baggage or whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, but it is, yeah, just understanding each other. It's been super helpful.
Yeah. And I even love the term like pre-marriage counseling. Like, come get a consultation and figure out your attachment style to set up you for success. Some therapist is going to catch on to this and be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to totally take on this niche in Utah with all these young couples that get married.
Straight out of their parents' house. But I actually had a coworker who she's Catholic, I believe, and she said that they did couples counseling before marriage, and they actually meet with their like priest
Cool.
and do it, which I thought was really interesting. And she said like every couple that gets married in their church does it, and I thought that was very interesting because I'm like, there's no harm in figuring each other's stuff out before you lock in for life. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Was there anything that you would do differently preparing for marriage if you were to go back?
I don't think so. I mean, like Stevie said, I started going to therapy, and then we started going to couples therapy with the same therapist. But we would still both go separately as well. So we'd go 1 week together, and then every other week we would go by ourselves, and then together, and then by ourselves. And so for me, I find more value in the personal therapy because I feel like I do have more personal items that I need to take care of, and taking care of those helps me be there for Stevie when she needs it. And it was definitely helpful to go to the couples therapy and to understand what she's going through and to have her talk and have a therapist kind of try and understand what that could look like, what it could mean. And so it did help to go to couples therapy. But for me, personal therapy and just really understanding who I am, why I do the things I do, what are my needs, has been so helpful. And I really believe it's changed the rest of my life. Like so many things.
I love that. Anything you want to add, Stevie?
I think realizing too that you are two individual people before marriage, I think I'm a little codependent where I'm like, need Ryan all the time. But realizing that to show up in a healthy relationship, you do need to have a healthy relationship with yourself and having your own self-image, your own self-worth and all these things like that plays a huge role into how you show up in your relationship. And so I don't know. I'm just grateful I have Ryan because Ryan is a very open-minded person. I know some people are very closed off to therapy or closed off to working through their own things, but yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think it's very, very helpful.
I love that. You guys are so wise. I'm so proud of you. And this has been such a good plug for pre-marriage counseling, like something I never heard of, but I am all for and completely on board with. So thank you for sharing your wisdom and your resources. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Before you go, if this episode resonated with you, or perhaps someone came to mind that you could share it with, if you wouldn't mind sharing, that would be amazing. Or you can leave a review or follow the Middle Ground podcast. All of these things will help the algorithm, because that is a real thing, allow people to find my podcasting community so much easier, and is essential for the growth of this podcast. And I would appreciate it so much. So remember, stay curious, spread love, and I hope you have an amazing day, evening, wherever you are, whatever you are doing.